Today on Investigate TV, imagine failing to deliver at work and getting paid big bucks to leave. College coaches are collecting millions of dollars after losing most of their games. Is college athletics out of control?
Well, I think so. I think the model itself is irretrievably broken.
Plus, more than half of all Americans play video games. Hackers are taking notice. Hear how they're posing as gamers to target you or your children.
So as a result, whether you're on a PC or a console like a PlayStation or an Xbox, you're at the same amount of risk.
And racehorse fatalities, doping schemes, trainers banned from the sport. But is it enough?
And it has become a race to the bottom where it's a game of who can out-cheat each other, all at the expense of the welfare of the horse.
Investigate TV starts right now. Hello and welcome to Investigate TV. I'm Lee Zurich. For some college coaches, it pays to get fired. Universities have written checks for millions to get them to leave, some making big headlines. We explain in Big Bucks, Big Buyouts. The amount of money paid out to this one college football coach,
I think the college athletic game is out of hand.
helps paint a picture
Those numbers are way off. It's unfair.
of a system that one college professor calls out of touch with reality.
It's startling. It is startling.
You're looking good, Coach.
In 2 years, Les Miles won just 3 of 21 football games as head coach at the University of Kansas. In 2021, the school fired him. He was set to receive more than $7 million, but a settlement shows it was reduced because of inappropriate conduct at his prior job at LSU. He got $1.9 million, a buyout of a disgraced coach that came on the heels of layoffs and cuts at Kansas. He won 3 of 21, 22 football games. That's abysmal, and he got a 7-figure paycheck.
He got a 7-figure paycheck, and he gets that again at the end of the university, coming off an $11 million budget cut, and then the height of the pandemic.
Professors lost jobs while Miles got paid just a few years after he received a $1.5 million buyout from his prior head coaching job at LSU.
We are going to use Blackboard.
Sean Lee Alexander teaches African American Studies at Kansas, a school that's a basketball powerhouse, coming off a national title, but for decades has tried to match that success in football. Since he arrived at the university 15 years ago, the school has paid out nearly $35 million in buyouts, most of football coaches, firing them before the expiration of their contracts. In that time period, Kansas finished a season ranked in the top 25 just once, the 2007 season. 5 straight football coaches who won less than a third of their games, given more money than most families earn in a lifetime. The winning percentage of these coaches, 31%.
Dismal.
The NCAA started collecting information on these severance payments in 2005. We analyzed the database of 235 public universities kept by Syracuse University. What we found since the 2004-05 school year, universities have paid these fired coaches more than $1.1 billion in contract buyouts. $1 billion for coaches not to work. The most Auburn, nearly $48 million. That includes the largest buyout ever for a college coach. After the school fired football coach Gus Malzahn in 2020, it paid him more than $21 million. Nebraska, Tennessee, Kansas, Texas, and Florida have all paid out more than $30 million. Most of that money going to fired football coaches. In this season, Nebraska's total stands to increase by $15 million after the school fired Scott Frost on September 11th. Even more startling, if the university waited until October 1st, his buyout would have been cut in half.
Well, it's obvious that institutions are throwing money away that could be used to, enhance the education, health, safety, and well-being of student athletes on mistakes that have been made in hiring.
Len Elmore is a former basketball star at Maryland. He's now a member of the Knight Commission, a group that tries to rein in spending on college sports.
Instead of the cookie cutter kinds of contracts that have buyouts that just match money or one-upsmanship on the dollars that are paid to these coaches in order to attract the coach, why not take a different look at how money is spent.
2 years after winning the 2019 national championship, LSU paid Ed Ogeron more than $16 million. In 2020, Arizona gave Kevin Sumlin a $7.5 million exit package after losing to rival Arizona State by 63 points. Last year, 21 head football coaches were either fired or resigned, and schools shelled out more than $63 million to end their tenures.
Is college athletics out of control?
Well, I think so. I think the model itself is irretrievably broken.
We requested the contract of every major college football coach in the country and received more than 100 of them.
Wow.
That's the reaction from Ohio University professor Dave Ridpath to our findings. Ridpath is a member of the Drake Group, another group critical of big-time athletic spending. We told Ridpath about some large buyouts tucked into current contracts. In Indiana, head coach Tom Allen's contract includes a $14.5 million buyout. Illinois' Brett Bielema and Houston's Dana Holgerson, nearly $29 million combined.
You almost seem speechless when you heard those numbers.
Well, it's pretty crazy. We still have to remember these are institutions of higher learning, right? And I think it just shows that the labor is grossly undercompensated. Nobody is going to watch the players, exactly. Nobody is going to watch any of those coaches, right?
Some backers of athletics say these buyouts are largely funded by private donors. But the fact is, if the athletics budget can't cover the buyouts with boosters, the university is left holding the bill.
Why is higher education so costly in America? And part of it is because of the athletic complex.
But Ridpath says no matter the source, money not spent on buyouts is money that could be spent somewhere else.
Regardless of where the money comes from, whether it's from donors, private funds, whatever it may be, certainly at a public institution, all money is state money. Once that money gets into the system, it still is state money, even if it's donated money. And that money could be used for better things.
Take the University of Kansas. Since 2004, the athletics department has received $16 million in student fees. The university has sent an additional $25 million out of its general fund.
So in a roundabout way, the students and the university and the state are paying for these buyouts.
Big buyouts costing universities big bucks, all in the search for gridiron glory.
How many jobs could be saved by when you're paying these coaches this money, right? If we're letting someone go who makes $40,000 to $50,000 to $100,000, but we're paying $35 million out, right, over this time period, it's absurd and it's unjust.
The University of Kansas Athletics Department declined to comment, saying the current administration was not involved in hiring or firing those previous coaches. To keep up with our latest investigations, follow us on social media or at InvestigateTV on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Up next, facing enemies while playing video games is expected, but hackers are now logging on to attack gamers. Up next, security advice to help protect yourself or your children.
Is there that instance of panic?
You kind of stop and wonder what else has been compromised.
That story after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. Video games, a $60 billion industry. 66% of Americans play regularly, according to the Entertainment Software Association. And hackers are taking notice. They are targeting sensitive information, taking over accounts. And it's not just adults falling victim. Scammers are going after children too. Rachel DePapa has more in this investigation. Game over.
Video games are an escape for the 215 million Americans who play each week.
All right, don't shoot him.
People like Chris Stevens.
I brought you your teammate!
Who came of age in the gamer era.
I remember growing up in the 80s having a Nintendo and playing Super Mario Brothers.
The console's a bit more sophisticated now. Gamers are immersed in online worlds. They create accounts attached to personal information. They upload videos to YouTube and live stream on platforms like Twitch.
A lot of it is just interacting with people, being able to talk to people that like the same things that you like.
But it all comes with a glitch. Gamers are also a favorite target of hackers, as Stevens found out in 2017.
I'm not exactly sure how they got into it, but I had gotten an email from EA letting me know that somebody had logged into my account.
The hacker also altered Stevens' language preference to Russian. He had to use Google Translate to read the email and figure out his password was changed by somebody from a Russian IP address.
Is there that instance of panic?
You kind of stop and wonder what else has been compromised.
According to a report from cybersecurity company Akamai, in 2020, the video game industry suffered more than 240 million attacks, often through mobile or web-based games. Another security company, Kaspersky, says it detected and prevented more than 5.8 million cyber attacks by malware and unwanted software disguised as popular PC games.
It flies under the radar, right? Video games don't fall in that same category that we think about for scary hacks like banks and financial institutions or even social media accounts.
Alex Netty is the CEO of cybersecurity company Hive Systems. He says not only are video game accounts worth a lot of money, but they are often linked to credit cards.
For those hackers and scammers, that makes kids and adults alike a really great target for them. So as a result, whether you're on a PC or a console like a PlayStation or an Xbox, you're at the same amount of risk.
Of the American adults who currently play online games, a Norton LifeLock report shows almost half experienced a cyber attack to a gaming account or device. Now think about how many kids play video games. According to the Entertainment Software Association, which lobbies on behalf of some of the largest game companies, 71% of children under the age of 18 are gamers.
For so many youth, gaming is a huge part of their lives and just their desire and drive every day. The game is the motivation.
Marcy Thornhill is a mom and youth advocate. For 17 years, she's run a nonprofit helping teens prepare for college and choose a career. She encourages parents to actively monitor who their children are talking to over games.
Get to understand what they're looking at and know that the video game is not a babysitter. Okay, you have to take more of a proactive role in your child's life.
Thornhill says know the names of the games your children are playing. Check the ratings. Sit beside them when they play. And dive into the settings menu. Explore it. Find out what you can turn on and off. Know how to shut off a chat window.
For kids and adults alike, be aware of who you're talking to. Understand and expect what they might be chatting about, and keep an eye out for those links that might look malicious or dangerous.
Chris Stevens experienced several hacking attempts over the years.
I was able to recover those accounts.
He says turn on two-factor authentication for every game account. It's an extra layer of security he wishes he had done sooner.
I knew that there was a security risk there, but I really didn't think that anybody would do anything, and lo and behold, both of my accounts got broken into. I've gotten better about it over time, but it's one of those things where you don't think it will happen to you until it does.
Experts say report any strange activity inside a game to the company who owns it. Teach your children to be wary of clicking on links or giving out personal information in a chat. Better yet, disable the chat. Check out parentaltools.org. It can help you navigate a game's settings. And help your child understand why it's important to have a different password for each game account. For Investigate TV, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Thanks, Rachel. Want to take a deeper dive into some of our investigations? Read more of our team's coverage at InvestigateTV.com. Decades of scandal, thousands of racehorse deaths. Now animal advocates and racing insiders push for accountability and penalties.
You know, I think our betting public and the general racing fans are losing confidence. In fact, a lot of owners and breeders are losing confidence.
More on that after the break. Horse racing steeped in controversy, but there's a push to crack down and make stricter rules. We investigated the nation's trainers, the professionals responsible for managing racehorses, and the staff they work with. They're the ones who take the blame when an animal is potentially in danger. A spring race. In under 2 minutes, these thoroughbreds run 1 mile. Coming in second place in this race, a horse trained by Carl Broberg, a top trainer who in the last 5 years has at least 22 horse deaths tied to his name. That's the same number of deaths we found tied to another highly decorated Hall of Fame trainer, Todd Pletcher. Our investigation found these horses aren't alone. At racetracks across the country, loading into the starting gate has essentially marked the end of life for thousands of horses.
Are horses dying when they shouldn't be?
I think horses are running when they shouldn't be, and that could result in a fatal injury.
We gathered fatality records from across the country and uncovered in the past 5 years, state racing commissions have tallied more than 4,000 racehorse deaths, most the result of broken legs. Many of those horses died during or just after a race, others while training.
That number is not acceptable.
Stacy Hancock knows what it's like to breed a winner.
It's just this euphoric, unbelievable moment. And, pinch yourself moment, walk on air moment.
Her horses have won 2 Kentucky Derbies, Gato del Sol in 1982 and Sunday Silence in 1989.
And then it's addictive, so you want to do it again.
But in her decades on the front lines of the sport, she says the true addiction has been to trainers giving their horses unnecessary drugs.
Is there a drug problem in horse racing?
Yes, there's a drug problem in horse racing. Definitely.
Because the drugs can mask pain and injuries, horses may end up competing when they should be healing. And Hancock says those drugs have likely led to the large amount of deaths across the country.
And the reason that number is so high is because some of these horses have been treated with drugs that either cause them to not run faster, but to have less feeling for pain, and pain is a signal to stop.
In 5 years, we found 234 deaths in Ohio, 274 in Louisiana, 440 in Pennsylvania, and 580 deaths in California. We also found over 5 years nearly 4,500 trainers with drug sanctions, and of those, nearly a third had multiple citations in that time frame.
And it has become a race to the bottom where it's a game of who can out-cheat each other, all at the expense of the welfare of the horse.
Right now, horse racing regulations and enforcement are a mixed bag across states.
The state-by-state patchwork is a tremendous detriment to the industry and to the horses.
All of this should change. A new law signed by President Trump in 2020 made one set of rules for drug testing and penalties. The Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act took effect in July. It will regulate thoroughbreds, which run in the Triple Crown races, the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont Stakes. Stacy Hancock has pushed for the new law for years. She might compare it to the stretch run of a race. The final seconds, the window is closing for the sport to make a move. She worries if it doesn't rid itself of drugs, horse racing could be finished.
And I think we can, bring our sport back to where it was during the days of Seabiscuit and Man of War, when it was the #1 spectator sport.
When the new law went into effect, 2 states fought its implementation, Louisiana and West Virginia. The trainers mentioned in the story either declined to comment or didn't respond. If you're looking for more investigative reporting on demand, download our streaming apps on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV. Coming up, a new fraud alert, scammers posing as banks to access your accounts. Hear how to protect your money after the break. Welcome back to Investigate TV. If you get an unexpected text or call from what appears to be your bank, beware. Scammers are posing as financial institutions looking to get your account info, ATM pins, and more. Carice Jackman has more.
I don't know how I'm going to survive.
Suzanne Garber says her nightmare started with a text message.
I got a text from what I thought was Wells Fargo telling me about, I believe it was an unauthorized purchase.
She texted back. Not long after, Garber got an unexpected call.
On my caller ID, it said Wells Fargo, my bank.
But it wasn't her bank. It was an imposter. The caller told Garber in order to reverse that unauthorized purchase, she had to set up an account with a new bank and use the payment app Zelle to transfer $1,000 to this new account. She sent the money, and it left her in a desperate situation.
I don't have money to go out and buy food.
According to the FTC, in the first half of 2022, text fraud cost consumers $137 million. Darius Kingsley with Chase Bank says if you ever get a suspicious text from someone saying they're from your bank, don't respond.
So then the scammer knows that you responded. So they'll call back right away and they'll get you on the phone and they'll say, oh, thank you so much for replying to that text.
It doesn't matter if it's a phone call, text message, or email. Kingsley says scammers are finding creative and sometimes aggressive tactics to trick you.
The FTC's latest data shows in 2021, there were 33,000 reports of bank fraud tied to debit cards and electronic transfers. And in the first quarter of 2022, there's been a 15% increase from the end of last year.
Chase recently sent out an alert warning customers to watch out for scams.
If you do get that kind of call, again, just hang up on it. If you get that email, delete the email. Don't click on any links on it.
As for Garber, she filed a complaint with her state, sent a letter to her bank, filed a police report, and notified the BBB. We reached out to Wells Fargo. They said they were using website warnings and social media posts to help consumers like Garber avoid scams such as these. They also said only send money via Zelle to known and trusted recipients.
And some more tips from the Better Business Bureau. If someone calls saying they are from your bank, do not give your personal information to verify your identity. If you get a questionable text, ignore prompts to text stop or no to prevent further contact. This is another way scammers confirm they have an active number. And even if you think a text or call is real, hang up, delete the text, find your bank's phone number online and call that instead.
Thanks, Carice. Want to hear more stories like this? Check out the InvestigateTV YouTube page for our latest content and partnerships. And that's it for us. Thanks for joining us here on InvestigateTV. We hope to see you next week.